My brother tested my hearing one time as an adult, and he found out that I can hear things that only dogs can hear. Echoes, and people's shoes squeak on the floor. And if they, oh gosh, heaven forbid, if somebody moves a table or a chair and they're dragging it across the floor. Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell. And one thing that I wanted to share about today was that we have a lot of sensitivity to stimulation. This is true of probably most people who are on the spectrum, from what I understand. And again, there are people who are affected by it much, much more than I am. But just to give you an idea from my own experience. So if I'm around a lot of people, that kind of sucks the energy out of me. It's like each one of those people is taking some of my energy, and sometimes I feel like they're taking my soul. Okay. And then they are completely unaware of it. And they're all being nice or whatever. Maybe they don't even notice me, but just being around a lot of people. And so that's why a lot of people with autism kind of stay away from people, or at least have to have periods of rest. There are a lot of other reasons why many of us isolate ourselves. I do that to a great degree, not completely, but I do. Another thing is that we're very sensitive to visual stimulation and auditory stimulation, and sometimes even like touch stimulation. I'm not as sensitive about touch stimulation. In fact, it really helps me when people touch me. And that's one of the disadvantages to isolating myself. Is that people don't touch me. But since COVID, I don't get touched very much anyway, even when I'm in public. And, I grew up in California where people really touch each other. And then I moved to Tennessee where people touch each other less. And I moved to Minnesota where, people don't touch each other at all. They have larger personal space. And one time I reached out to touch a friend on the arm and she actually jumped away. So that's something that helps me. So some people with autism are very sensitive to touch in a bad way. For a lot of us, having someone, if we're going through a meltdown, having someone come around behind us and holding us really tight helps. And for that reason, weighted blankets are really popular with a lot of autistic people. So sensitivity to sounds, that's the main one for me, is sensitive to sounds. I'm also sometimes sensitive to lights. I'm sometimes sensitive to just my hair being on my neck. I wear my hair up a lot because it just really bothers me. But sounds especially. So I don't go into gymnasiums or like the Family Life Center at church. So I miss out on a lot of things, which is kind of okay with me because I don't really want to be around a lot of people. But sometimes I do want to go to something like exhibition that they have in there, but I won't even step foot in the Family Life Center because there's echoes and people's shoes squeak on the floor. And if they, oh gosh, heaven forbid, if somebody moves a table or a chair and they're dragging it across the floor, my hearing is super, super sensitive. And so anything is just like, oh my word, it's like dragging, like 100 people dragging their fingernails on the chalkboards, and just it assaults me physically when there are a lot of noises like that. So that's just one of the things that we live with. And so it's like it puts us on edge because of that. I mean, just think of if you spent a whole day listening to somebody scratching on a chalkboard, it gets to your nerves and it puts you on edge. Okay, so we're also, like all kinds of sights and smells and different things like that. Those things are all stimulation that's assaulting us. And that's very often the reason for someone going into a meltdown. And what is a meltdown? Okay. This is really not a fun part of autism. And you just can't handle things anymore, and you can't keep your fear or irritation or whatever inside yourself anymore. And so it just comes out with kids, and sometimes with adults, it'll come out in like a tantrum. I can't handle people. I'm upset. I'm likely to quit everything because, I just can't handle being around people anymore, even online or something. And it may seem really unreasonable to you if you're not autistic, but just remember that it really is. It's like having all these things constantly coming at us. And, eventually, even you, if you had things just wearing on your nerves so much, you would eventually get to the place where you have to scream or something. You just can't take it anymore. That's what it's like for us living in your world, because this world is mostly made up of neurotypical people who don't have autism or other things like that. Those things don't bother you, or maybe they bother you slightly, but they don't bother you a lot. And so it looks to you like we're like majorly overreacting, but we can't help it. It is so much. I try to help it. I try to do everything that I can, take herbs that help me, aromatherapy that helps me sing, try to get some exercise. Although since I've had Lyme, I can barely walk. So it's really hard for me to get exercise. So I just try to get it out in as many ways as I can and try to take in as many soothing experiences as I can to help so that I don't have that meltdown. But still, sometimes I'm not able to stop it, and I do have that meltdown. And like I said in the first video that I did in this series, I'm recording these while I'm dancing at the edge of the cliff. I am trying to keep from having a meltdown. And I'm doing better today than I was yesterday, but I don't know how I'll be tomorrow. And hopefully I won't have that meltdown. But usually what happens is that the tension builds and builds and builds so much that you're just going to be tense and horrible until that meltdown happens. And you might do every single thing that you can to stop from having that meltdown. You don't want to have that meltdown. It is so incredibly miserable. You feel completely out of control. Even if all you're doing is crying, you just feel so out of control. And you know that it bothers people around you, and people are going to hate you, or they're going to reject you, or whatever. It's not something that people do on purpose. And it's really, really awful, but it's going to come. It's going to happen. I have not found a way to completely avoid those meltdowns. And for me, usually what it is I cry a lot, and that actually helps. But the meltdown, I cry a lot. I'm very sensitive to things that people say. And I don't want to be around anyone. And so it's hard to explain, but you know what? If you come into my space in that time, I will try to be nice to you, but I'm just like, ah! And if you say something that's just a little tiny bit not nice, I will feel like strangling you. You may not even know it. I may be able to keep a smile on my face and be really calm, but that's how I'm feeling inside. Even though I tell myself, this is probably not reality. This is okay. She's, yeah, but it does that. And women's voices tend to bother me more than men's voices. Men's voices are much more soothing to me, where women's voices tend to be really, it just really bothers me. And again, it depends on where I am. If I'm a long way from the cliff, then that's fine. I can handle it. But if I'm really close to the cliff, that's the thing that can push me off. And, so like I said in another video, this Saturday, we're supposed to have a whole lot of people at our mass. And so I'm just not even going to go there because I'm close to the cliff. If I go there, I may fall off the cliff while I'm there at mass. So I'm going to go to a quiet mass someplace else that hardly anybody goes to. So that's just what I have to do sometimes. And that is because I am aware of what's happening. A lot of people aren't, and they have no clue what to do. And again, I'm not very far along on the spectrum. People who have very severe autism, it's much, much harder for them. All right. I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.